We're good. All right. We're ready for the 8 to 16, yes? Oh, that's when parenting gets to be interesting, right? They can talk, they can walk, they're a little independent, and they tell you about it, right? So let's talk about good coaching versus bad coaching. So I told you I'm a basketball fan, and it's March Madness. Whether the team is winning or losing, who are we talking about? The coach. Look at how many stories right now about the coaches. And this is significant because when the team is winning, you're the best coach ever. When your team is losing, well, right? You're waiting to get the call that you're not going to make it anymore as a coach for us. And that's how we feel as parents. So many parents feel defeated. They feel blamed when their kids aren't doing well. I was that parent that got the phone call, the email, the letter from school, and your heart sinks, and immediately you start blaming yourself. Why isn't my child able to manage in school? What's wrong? What did I do wrong, right? And so I always tell parents, yes, you're the coach, but your children are still children. If you know me well enough, you know I always say, I'm the therapist. My children are children. Children are going to make mistakes. They're going to have struggles with skills. And we're going to be able, as the coach, to recognize, again, meeting our kids where they're at, recognize what's going on with our game plan, and adjust and shift to help our kids to be successful. So let's go back to our domains of development. As we think about our domains, and we're thinking 8 to 16 years. So physically, what are our kids going through? What kind of developmental things do they have physically? Puberty. Look, as we shake our head, yeah, man, those hormones. Big part of it. What else is going on physically for kids? Growth spurts, yes. Which sometimes with puberty gives you mood swings, right? Sleep, nutrition, right? All of these things. As we start to get, I always say, unfortunately, school gets earlier, our kids get less sleep, right? What's going on cognitively, 8 to 16 years, from a cognitive development perspective? What are things that are impacting their cognition? Social media, yes. But there's another S word that's more important. School, right? My teachers, yes, school, then social media, hopefully, right? Yeah, even experiences. Right? Some kids are first getting their jobs at 16. I always say jobs can teach them more than we can. Whew. Let the supervisor tell them, right? Social emotional, 8 to 16. What are our kids going through? Peer pressure, relationships, friendships, right? And not just the teen drama, because mean girls are happening in 3rd grade now at recess. Yeah, we have to have, this is true. Some schools have a bench for kids at recess to sit when they want someone to play with them. This is our reality now. You go sit on the bench and wait for a friend, because this is how tough it can be for some of our kids. And so we have a lot of work to do during this stage, but the question's going to be, as a coach, what's your parenting style? What's your coaching style? Again, research, we have some different parenting styles, so we're going to talk a little bit about each one. Permissive, you're your kid's friend. They get away with murder. You're not really interested in parenting. We're just going to hang out and be friends. Neglectful, sometimes you might get state services involved if you're neglectful, right? Not meeting needs. Indifferent to what's going on for your child. Authoritarian, because I said so. Let's face it, did we like the because I said so answer? We hated it. So don't do it. Remember your 13-year-old self that hated when your parents said, well, it's because I said so. You must do it. Authoritative is about natural consequences, problem solving, listening to your kid, working with your youngster. Sound of Music. We all remember? Well, maybe if you watched the earlier version, but the later version. The Von Trapp family. Baron Von Trapp, yes? He blew his whistle, and what would happen? They would come running and line up in neat order with their uniforms, yes? And he was a naval captain during World War II. But again, he thought that that way of parenting was the way to do it. Kept them in line, especially when you have 7. I could just imagine. But then comes Governess Maria. Now, I am not singing. But the hills came alive, right? With the sound of music. What was different about her? Why do we still think about her? Because she let them climb trees. She made costumes out of the drapes. She followed rules, but she was mindful of where they were developmentally when they needed to bend and break those rules a little bit. And thinking about, again, that part of us, research actually says the Von Trapp, the Baron Von Trapp kind of parent, this is what research says will happen to your kids. The because I said so parents, you end up with kids that are conduct disorder, criminal behaviors. They have trouble at work. They have trouble in relationships. Let that sit in for a minute, though. Why? Because you never gave them an opportunity to reason and think for themselves. You always told them what to do. And guess what? Because you told them because I said so, that's how they operate in the world. Because I said so. And so really we're doing a disservice to our kids when we have that type of because I said so mentality. I'm going to put all of these things together in a morning example. Temperament of your child, your parenting style, and then the moment. So if we were in the morning, and in the morning, remember our difficult child, it's time to get up. They're not getting up the first time. They're not getting up the second time. They may not even be getting up the third time, right? But again, I'm the authoritarian parent. I'm the Von Trapp. What am I doing all morning long then? Yelling, 100%. I'm yelling. I might even have my whistle like the Von Trapps, right? And I am mad, and I am changing the energy in my home because my temperament of my child is not fitting well with my parenting style in the moment. And so then what happens is, can we get out of the door? Sure. But we're a hot mess, yes, when we get out the door. You're mad going to work. Your kid's dysregulated going to school. So when the classroom teacher says hello, oh, it's downhill from them, all right? Someone says hello to you at work, it's downhill for you because you still have to get yourself together because that kid this morning. These are those moments, and we talk about having a plan. Coaches, when you're in a difficult situation, what do? They pull out the little sheet. They hide so the other coach can't see on TV, right? And they start figuring out the plan. We have to shift. We have to change. We have to do something different. Don't keep having the same kind of mornings, coaches. Figure out a new plan. Give you an example. I worked with a family one time, and it was interesting. The family, we were talking about dinner, and they said mealtime gets to be so combative. Their kid doesn't want to eat. There's arguments. The siblings are fighting with each other. And I said something to them, and I said, "But how was their day at school?" And they looked at me and they said, "I don't know." We have lost the reason of mealtime. Mealtime is not about eating all of your vegetables. It never was. Research says that if we sit and have dinner with our kids, they're more likely to graduate. They're more likely to be successful in life. So mealtime is not about if 3/4 of the plate is empty. Mealtime was about connection, talking with your kid, seeing how their day went. And so coaches, you have to know the moments and you have to know the plays in the moments. Good coaching. Let's talk about good coaching. Good coaching listens to our team, listens to the players. I have had an athlete for most of her life, and it's interesting because there's been coaches that I've loved. There's been coaches that she has loved. There's been coaches we've both been like, yeah, not so much. Can't wait for the season to be over. Why? Because coaches need to listen to the players. But it's interesting, coaches, when your kid has something to say about the green beans that taste funny, what's our response? Eat them anyway. Exactly, right? We're not even open to just some feedback. Not criticism. It's not criticism. It's feedback. The survey of your patrons, right, are saying, hey, listen, I'm concerned about the taste of the vegetables tonight. But think about that, right? Do we hear their concerns when they say their room's hard to clean? Kids are breaking down. Yes, they made the mess. I hear you, Baron Von Trapp. They made the mess. They need to clean it up. But sometimes it's hard, and it's a lot. Do we hear our kids when they're talking about homework is hard? Folks, it looks different. 3rd grade, I think I did in 6th grade what they're doing in 3rd grade, right? It looks different, and it is hard. And in those moments, again, thinking about listening to our players. We also set team goals. Your job is to win, not the argument, the whole game. Take that in. What's our game? Making sure our kids are successful. What's the argument? Whether or not we're eating those green vegetables that taste funny, right? Coaches look at the big picture. I love after a basketball game, and right now we're in playoff season, and you'll hear coaches talk about the next, what we need to do the next game, and they're so awesome, right? They're so supportive in what we didn't do, what we need to do, what we're going to do. That's how we need to be, even when our kids are having a tough dinner and a tough meal. And we go back and say, maybe we don't make those green vegetables tomorrow. Thank you for your feedback. Let's find a green vegetable we do like and how we can fix it differently so it tastes wonderful, so that we can enjoy the meal, because that's our real goal, enjoying that moment. So we're going to go through some different moments in parenting from 8 to 16 that seem to be a little difficult sometimes for folks. And we're going to start with some chores. So I'm going to have Josh, we're going to play 2 different songs. We're going to play the first one, then the second one, and then we're going to take a vote. So Josh, go ahead and play the first one. All right. We got hand motions going in the sound booth. I love it. All right, so Josh, let's play the second one. Oh, my game's moved. All right. So if you can tell by my daughter's facial expression, which song do you think is playing in my house on Saturday mornings when it's time to do chores? Song number 1 or song number 2? There's actually a family dance to that, but we won't go into that. So as I mentioned earlier, my husband is from Guyana, South America, and part of being married to someone from a different background and culture is that we had to learn how to mix our home. And so one of the interesting things, and I can tell you, this was not my idea of Saturday morning chores. I have to 100% give it to him. When we first got married, before kids even, it was funny because I was like, we do what on Saturday, right? We have to get up. He goes without breakfast and starts cleaning. And I'm like, oh, bless things. Now I have to have my coffee, my eggs. I'll join you when we hit the bathrooms, all right? But what's been interesting is the music actually is what we connect with even around our chores in our home. But Saturday mornings, if I'm at work, sometimes I'm driving up the driveway and I pull the garage and I can hear the music even as I'm pulling in. And I'm like, oh, we're cleaning house today. Awesome. Because even since they were little, that is what we've done. We've made chores fun. We've made it a part of just who we are. But here's the other thing. Notice I said my husband, myself, and my 2 children on Saturday morning, I only have 2, are cleaning together. The Cinderella effect is real. I have talked to enough kids in therapy to say, I am not Cinderella. Mom and dad are watching TV and I have to do the chores. My brother and sister, they don't have to do chores and I'm doing it. You increase compliance, even with chores, by relationship, doing it together. So listen, they know that, and it's funny because I have this little saying, right? Usually it starts Friday afternoon. What are our chores this weekend? What do we got to get done? And they're like, I know, Mom. They're teenagers now, right? I know, Mom. Okay. By Saturday afternoon, somewhere mid-afternoon, I just check in. How are we doing with the chores? Everybody finished? Yeah. You have the rest of the weekend to yourself. See how lovely that sounds? But I have the rest of the weekend to myself. I'm not nagging behind any children all weekend. We're not talking about picking up and cleaning things. But again, even that sense of cooperation. And so many of you are thinking things like, oh, but only on Saturday. What about the room? I'm going to go back to relationship. I don't care about the rooms. Who goes in my kids' rooms Monday through Friday? They do. Who else? Not me. Listen, not grandmom, because think of the things we tell them. Oh, when company comes. Why is company going in your kid's room? That's what doors are for. We close them Monday through Friday. We clean them when we need to. But again, people are losing relationship with their kids over the clothes on the floor, over the bed not being made. My kids have learned those skills. They know those skills. I am pretty confident when they go to college with a roommate or they live on their own one day, they'll know how to clean. And they'll put on some pretty cool music and the roommate will be like, oh, what's that? It's our cleaning jam. Let's go. So I don't have to argue every day about these things because I'm more concerned with connection and relationship. Let's talk a little bit about schoolwork because homework time is tough. It is. And homework is tough. Start early with a routine. And I know we as parents also have a hard time with routine because our kids are in so many things. One thing I've learned from students, though, is even where you do homework matters. Think about it. Kitchen table. Is it quiet? What's the distractions going on in your kitchen at homework time? Cooking, cleaning, the Amazon delivery, the dog's running, we're barking, someone's having a phone call, grandmom's on the line. It is not easy to do schoolwork at the busiest place, Grand Central Station, in your home. But yet, that's what we do. And then we're yelling at them the whole time that they're not done yet. Why aren't you finished yet? And then when they say things like, but you're no, you can't tell me what to do. You need to get your homework done. Folks, we create these moments. So if my kid says, hey, I want to go up to my room and get my work done because I can do it in 30 minutes, that's the space we need to be in and listen, because that's important. And we all know with COVID, I just have to say, our kids lost skills, even the academics, right? So when your kid says to you, I need help, we're not going to say things like, well, you should know how to do this. Ouch. And I have littles that tell me that. Second and third graders, when parents are trying to help them with homework, will say things like, well, you should know how to do this. Folks, they're asking for help. They don't know how to do it. Hello, that's their cry. They can't. My daughter is probably in about a few minutes going to regret the fact that she agreed to come here today. She's like, if she tells one more story, I did warn her in the car, though, that there would be parenting stories because I'm a parent. Paige will leave me notes. And it's funny because most nights I'm out working with families till about 8:30. I'll get home. The other day there was a little sticky note. Please, I need help with Macbeth. And it was on the spot where I always put my bag when I come in. Now she's somewhere in her room. But that sticky note was enough for me to switch gears in my mind as a mom that just worked a full day, come home. I'm like, okay, let me go change in my pajamas. I had the sticky note in hand. I'm like, oh, dear God, Macbeth. At 9 o'clock at night, Macbeth. But, and folks, she's bright, she's smart, but Macbeth? So stand in that sometimes, that even when they're teenagers in high school, they still need help with things. And that's why they're having a hard time with math. That's why they're having a hard time with English, Because folks, one, if we didn't train a lot of the early learning skills, they don't have them. And math, I'm telling you, education is going so fast. Every day it's a new topic. These kids can't keep up. And if they don't have a parent at home that takes on the hat of an educator sometimes, they're going to get further behind. And then, of course, what do we do? Why are your grades like this? That's not the question you ask. The question is, how can I help you? You seem to be struggling in that subject. What do we need to do? My son, bless his heart now, I'll talk about him for a second. Math has never been his jam, and that's exactly how we talk about it. We laugh in our home because math has always been that grade. That's never an A, always a B, maybe a C. But I know when every math quiz is, I know what we need to study, I order the math textbooks in the summer because we have to know math. He wants to be a chemistry major. He wants to be a chemist. And he has to know math. And so we're at that point now, like, dude, it's about internalizing it and loving it as much as you love science, because unfortunately, you got to have an A or a B to get into the chemistry program that you want. And so even being able to say, okay, I will take the time, I will learn, we look up apps, we do a lot of things to be able to help. But summer learning. Let me give you a trick, something that I do a little bit different with summer learning. Some people, or some teachers I should say, give you packets, right, at the end of the school year. Even the middle schools will say, hey, have your kids work on these skills. What I do with summer learning is I actually work on what they're going to learn next year. Why go backwards? They were already supposed to have known that stuff, right? That's not summer learning. Summer learning is about new material, new information. So I go to the school website, I go to the Board of Ed page, I look up on the curriculum, I look at for the grade they're going to be in next year. They even have textbooks and information there, what categories, what subjects are going to be there. I look it all up. They can attest 15 minutes of learning. That's it. Game changer. 15 minutes. You got all day to do nothing. 15 minutes in the summer. We go through math. We read our books. But again, getting them ready because school goes fast. And I need them to keep up. And so a big part of that, again, doesn't take much time for you or for them, but it's a big part of recognizing that sometimes they need help and they need us to be able to help. I'm going to move into probably the number one issue today with parenting, technology. I asked my sister if I could share this story, and she gave me permission to share. So I'm going to share this story. We were talking the other day about my nephew, and my nephew's autistic, and Colt, and we love him, and we're excited about his 10th birthday coming up. And she was telling me how she's going to redecorate his room and put his gaming chair up there and his game equipment. And I said, in his room? And she said, yeah, in his room. And I said, no, don't do that. She said, but why? It'll be really nice. I said, listen, Paxton's stuff is in the basement for a reason. You're going to save yourself arguments by avoiding putting in the room now. When he's 14 and 15, you'll thank me that it's downstairs. Because this is what we're doing. You're setting your kid up for failure. Technology is not the enemy. It's not having a plan with technology. That's the problem. Coaches, remember I said you have to have a plan. What's your plan around technology? If you have a little, and I don't know about you, but it drives me insane to see 2-year-olds on tablets. It just does. When my kids were in the grocery store, we had checklists. They were helping me shop. We played. We had fun. They had toys. My son would sleep most times in the basket. It was great. Had my little helper over here helping me out. It was awesome. But that's the thing that we have to think about with technology. We also have to change the fact that just because you turn a certain age, you get a device. We had middle school pegged in our mind for video games. Again, I work in the field. I've seen many families and children, and I said, my son will not have a game system until middle school, 6th grade. What we did, we also said during the school year, they can have a tablet but they can't have that during the school year. When I tell you these kids on June 15th would go find their father to find those tablets, it was like, because they knew all summer, right? They get their games, they get their technology. But here's the thing, we're walking around like our kids, it's just like any other toy. They have $800 devices. And I'm not just talking about the cost, but think about that. And we're like, oh, but they're supposed to, no, they don't have to have just because every other kid has. We're in a pediatrician's office, and she's small, and Paige says to me, Mom, I want a tablet. And I said, you're a little too young for that. And she says, but Mom, everybody else has one. And I looked around the waiting room in the pediatrician office, and no lie, every kid in that lobby had a device, and they were on it. We carried books. We carried small toys. We carried snacks. That's what we did when we went places and we had to wait, because waiting's been a parenting thing forever. You just got to be prepared for it. Charging stations. The American Medical Association, when I was growing up, 40-some years ago, no TVs in your bedrooms. We have known this about technology for probably 40-some years. Why is this surprising? That kids are struggling when their cell phone or their tablets are in their bedroom with sleep, with nutrition, with mood. We have known this since the days of TV. Don't put it in your kids' bedrooms, right? So I'll tell you a quick story about charging stations. Before we had a designated charging station for Chromebooks, school-issued devices, right? Being a middle-aged mom, sometimes in the middle of the night, you have to go to the bathroom, right? So I get up, I'm walking to the bathroom, and I thought I heard a noise. Now, I'm not a paranoid kind of mom, but I'm like, interesting noise. I come out of the bathroom, I hear it again. I said, you know what, let me see what's going on. Let me check. So I start walking down the hall, and I hear it again. And this time I recognize the noise to be my son hysterically laughing. And this is like 2 a.m. So I'm saying to myself, what's he doing? So I'm a fun mom too. So I decided to open the door. And luckily, he was under his blanket, completely under his blanket. Now, I did not know that he had headphones in, right? But he was completely under his blanket on his school Chromebook, playing games in the middle of the night. So I said, you know what? Natural consequences. Here we go. I walk up. He has never done that again. I scared the living crap out of him. Now, it did teach us something because we were letting them just keep their school Chromebooks in their bedroom and thought nothing of it till that moment. So now Chromebooks, kitchen counter. Cell phones, they got those in middle school. They're in our bedroom, not kitchen counter, in our bedroom as a charging station. So at 9:30, notice I said my high schoolers go to bed at 9:30. At 9:30, they bring their cell phones in, and we charge their cell phones because they need sleep. They need good nutrition. They need to be in a good mood. I honestly have good kids because they get sleep. 100% because they get sleep. And so even that piece of it. The last part I want to talk about cell phones and technology. And really cell phones at this age, because most of our kids are getting to the point where we're giving them some type of handheld device. But what I'm noticing is that we start to use that device, that thing, as punishment. Well, if you don't clean your room, I'm taking your phone. Folks, remember we got to go back to training. I don't have to threaten. I don't have to take things away. They've got the skills. They know what they need to do. They have the game plan. But how much of our dialogue, even around these devices, are now about punishment? Did you give that to them for that reason? Because my thing is, if that's all you're going to do every other day is threaten to take it away, then just take it away. Because now this becomes the moment. Teenagers tell me they will not even answer their parents' texts or phone calls because they know the moments about punishment are getting in trouble. But again, thinking about engagement. We say the biggest concern is that they're on the devices, they're not talking to us. Here's what parents say. Well, get off your phone. You're on your phone all the time. Come and talk to me. What does that do for our teenagers? I gotta go. Right? How about, hey, we haven't played dominoes in a while. Why don't you come? Let's play some dominoes for a little bit. What's the difference? Engagement. Yeah. You want them off your phone? Then give them something to get off their phone for. Kids are bored, and they tell me that all the time. What else is there to do? And of course, the kids also say, well, they're on their phone too. And I'm like, yeah, that's our last little bit about technology, right? Being able for us to also bring that back and manage that time. So question as we close out this section, what's your parenting plan?